And baby, I'm TFC till I die.
Hello and welcome back to Toronto Till I Die, the Toronto FC fan show. I'm Mike Newell, and man, what is it about Orlando? What is it about playing three at the back? What is it about midfields that can't track runners? I don't know what it is, but Saturday was tough watching for Toronto FC fans. And, you know, we got to talk about it again on Monday, but here we are. 2 match weeks in, already 6 goals conceded. But hey, we still live for the moment. It's still early, but it's not looking so great to start off. A 4-2 loss in Orlando. I think I don't need to stretch that any further. Bring in my co-host Jeffrey P. Nesker.
So,
Jeff, man, can you give the people out there who are watching this live, listening wherever you're listening to, Instagram, YouTube, on X, wherever you are, is there words of hope? Because I mean, like, Saturday started to go back into the doldrums really quick. I think match week 1 was very hopeful and like, hey, there was great effort and, you know, they showed spirit, and they kind of did Saturday. And the first 30 minutes looked okay, and then the wheels just fell off. So, any words of hope for TFC Live?
You know what I forgot to do, Mikey Newell? I forgot to load the clip of Doyle on SoccerWise responding to my question on YouTube, which I don't have connected because my machine's transferring a ton of data from one hard drive to the other right now. But I will do next week, even though it's probably more apt for this week. Words of encouragement. Hey, if you've got $5,000, you can get maybe World Cup tickets, you know, so there's that. You know, if you like Apple stores, BMO is going to become one, so there's that. I don't know. I think you said it best. It was fun watching you tweet from the TTID account on Saturday night because it was like the stages of grief and acceptance, but there were some like nuggets of truth in there. Like, 2 away goals ain't bad. You know, especially the nature of the goals that we scored. I mean, Sigurd Rosted getting a header like that, and et cetera, et cetera. You know, taken out of context, that's not terrible, but of course there's a context to everything. So yeah, it's bad. It's look at our look at our chat.
Yeah. Look, I think yeah. I mean, look, yeah. It was a performance where, if you look at it in sort of chunks, right, of the game, the first 30 minutes, okay, yeah, offensively it was clear they weren't gonna create a lot. This 2 up front false 9 with Bernardeschi and Corbeanu is just, it's not it. And we know that's not the long-term plan, obviously, but right now it's kind of the plan you got to roll with. I mean, it tells you how much Robin Fraser must not trust DeAndre Kerr to the point where you're not even giving him like a sniff or at least an option to be
Charlie Sharp
off the bench. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, right? Like that's how much you do not see them in the plans like that you're willing to roll out the same 11. Although the effort was great in match week 1, let's just be frank. Aside from a few DC United mistakes, a questionable penalty in week 1, you know, you're looking at 0-2 right now, and not a lot generated in terms of the offense. And you saw it again on Saturday. You know, that first 30 minutes, they moved the ball well. When they're pulling, it's sort of what Robin Fraser mentioned this at the end in his post-game press conference, right? When they stay disciplined, they stick to the plan, they can move the ball around actually really well. Like they can get the ball from the defense, you know, into the tip of the final third. But like once you get there, there's just nothing. There was not. You saw both Bernardeschi, Corbeanu, and at time Jonathan Osorio get to the edge of the 18-yard box, and there's just nobody in there. There's nowhere to go. So you just look at that and you're like, where are the goals? How are you going to get these goals? Where are they going to come from? And again, we proved it by it was a little too late, but through a set piece and off a broken play and a screamer by Davy Flores. But until you can figure out what that looks like, and let's hope Ola Brynhildsen, who made his debut on Saturday, who can bring a little bit of danger at the number 9 position when he's fit and in the lineup. But Saturday, there was really only going to be one winner, and turned out to be Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you look up in the dictionary possession without purpose, and it's a picture of this squad right now. But let's not forget that Orlando's coming off their first loss at home in ever, or a bunch of years. So they were hungry to not do that again. And I think that's important. Because winning on the road is always a fool's errand in MLS. In this case, sure, TFC are bad. Absolutely. Let's not sugarcoat that. But let's also not forget that Orlando didn't want to lose 2 at home in their own barn off the hop. And that meant something to them. And therefore, it was multiplying zeros for us. What do I say? I think, to me, this is a team that is trying to remember what to do with how many different coaches have this squad been through in recent memory. At the spur of the moment, remembering what to do based on totally mutually exclusive tactics rained down from the gaffer at the time. I see it in how they're unwilling or the hesitation that they make. Wait, which gaffer's plan do I have to abide by now? There's a bit of confusion there. I don't think the muscle memory's set in yet, which I think is insane considering the team allowed such a weak preseason to happen when we needed way more reps. And I think that individually there's cause for some concern. Do you want to go down the line here? Because we can start with Theo. Theo is a concern to me. I'm seeing everything that was levied against him on his European loan adventure writ large with my own eyes playing for this club right now. Undoubtable technical ability, but just that can't be it. I don't see any chemistry with his teammates. I don't see any real desire to create chemistry with his teammates. If we're deriding Fede for hero ball, I mean, Theo, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that's partly a product of just not having the number 9 up top. That's part of it. I also think I agree that Theo, some of his decision making is a little questionable. In terms of what he's doing when he has the ball. Again, honestly, I am on the Michael Singh train on this. I do think he will come good once you have a number 9, once they can get a rhythm, once you can really play how you ideally want to play from an attacking perspective. But right now, and look, it's 2 games. Realistically, most MLS teams in the offseason, you mentioned it, had at least 4 or 5 preseason games, right? TFC had 3. Realistically, this, is their last preseason game. And you're talking about a manager that only took charge of the team and only really started running training at the beginning of January. So this is still a team learning how to play with each other under Robin Fraser. Yes, this is largely the same team from 2024, but Robin Fraser is asking players to do a lot of different things.
Different.
Exactly. And I think that it takes time for them to understand exactly where he wants them to be on the field and sort of the jobs he wants them to do. In a lot of ways, I think you can see it when they're playing okay. The rules are simplified, right? I think you start to see TFC get really bad when, like you said, either they start to try to play hero ball a little bit or they get frustrated and guys start, losing a little bit of concentration. And, look, that third goal where you can't get beat up the gut like that. right? Like you just cannot get cut open like that. And that is Davy Flores not tracking his man. You know, it's Kevin Long getting pulled wide. It's Zaymon Louis getting pulled wide. You know, like I made a comment saying that he turned the wrong way. He didn't in theory because, yes, the ball could have gone to the wide man that was just off his shoulder. But at the same time, if Davy Flores is doing his job, if Cuellar's doing his job in terms of tracking runners, then that doesn't become an issue. But as soon as those guys
doesn't become a 5-alarm fire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It becomes a 5-alarm fire and you get beat up the gut.
Yeah. Now, that wasn't the goal. Obviously, that wasn't the goal where Mon Luis was looking to make a Chris Mavinga slide tackle and then got cut off by Sean Johnson stepping right into him.
That was the end. That was the end part of that play, yes. But I mean, the play was already done by that point. He was scoring.
Yeah. I still wanted to see a Mavinga-style slide tackle. Correct me if I'm wrong. Theo's natural position is on the right. So he's playing on the left because Berna's spot is on the right, right?
I mean, he could play on both. Like he can.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, listen. Let's allow a margin for the fact that we're putting him centrally, and that's probably why he keeps drifting off into no man's land towards the touchline, right? Like it's just not in his skill set. But also, if it's that difficult for him to play centrally, imagine what it's like when everything's reversed, right? Like I'm wondering why we signed this guy. I'm just going to say it. Like it, you know, we need players to play a system, and we signed a guy that's not comfortable playing where we're going to put him in for shiggles. It boggles the mind. I'm starting to get a little WTAF about this Corbino. Is it Corbino or Corbiano?
It's Corbiano.
Or do I
Corbiano?
Okay, this Corbiano signing, because
I do think he can potentially come good, but I do think that they're going to either need to ask him to simplify some things, and I think he can be. The good thing about him that I like is that he can be direct and take players on, right? But I also do think that, kind of like Federico Bernardeschi, they kind of, I don't want to say are one-trick ponies, but they kind of do the same thing. They're trying to knock it by you and trying to run by you, right? And defenders in this league, though teams spend a lot of money on their attacking and not that much on their defending. But even then,
it still doesn't mean they're idiots.
No, they pick up on it fairly quickly, right? Yeah. They pick up on your habits quickly, and I think they're going to pick up on what he's trying to do quite quickly. The question is, can he adjust? Can he make better decisions in the final third when he has the ball at his feet? Can he make better passes? I think. Look, he's trying to get to the line, to make crosses, to get things to happen. That's actually a positive thing. They're not coming off right now, but I think that if he can continue, and if the club can set him up in a position where he can, be as effective, and you're asking him to do a very simple thing, almost kind of like Jacob Schaffelberg, right? Look, I want you to use your pace. He can beat guys one-on-one off the dribble, take them to the line, put something in the box, let our guys get in there and do something. If you have an opportunity to cut in on your right and hit it, do it. But generally speaking, that's kind of what we want you to do. If you can kind of simplify that for him, then I think he becomes a much more effective player. You could see it on
or you break his brain and he freezes up in the middle third and doesn't know what to do. Yeah,
you saw him in certain situations where he looked up, and it's actually not too much of a fault of his. He looked up and there was just nothing in the box. Like Fede was on the other side of the pitch in the first half.
I mean, it was the Apple commentators in between talking about how cold it was in Canada. All they were saying is how badly we needed a number 9. Like, it was kind of ridiculous. Sorry to interrupt.
No. But they're not wrong, right? In the sense that they just haven't played together, and especially when you bring in Brynhildsen now. And I think somebody mentioned it earlier about the fact that he came in and brought some energy. I agree.
Sure.
I think either Turch or somebody said that earlier. In the comments, but again, he's going to need time to figure out, where does Corbinu like to play? Where does Fede like to play the ball? Do I normally have to stop short to come to feet? Can I run in behind? Can they make that pass? Will they see me make that run? It's the same thing we talked about with, funny enough, Prince Owusu last year. Yeah, just in terms of the fact that, there are moments where he would run in behind and just people wouldn't make the pass to him. So it's just
fool me once.
If they can start to build that, if they can build that relationship, I think you could be okay. But
I'm worried, Mike.
To be the real concern right now, although yes, we're talking about the attack, the real concern is the midfield, because the midfield in these first 2 games just getting overrun at times.
I know, but before we go there, more on the attack, because what you said fills me with dread when you're like, yeah, Theo, let's simplify it. You can beat guys 1v1. Well, the easy way for MLS defenders to like stop what is a very, very simple play is double mark you, and then you're done. So like if Theo is set for 1v1 battles, it's easy to mark him out of the game. And if he has no answer for that, and he's also drifted to the touchline because he can't stay central, I don't understand. Like, put Derek Etienne Jr. in there. I mean, he definitely showed better than what we're seeing from Theo right now. Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because and what you also said, waiting this long to sign a center forward when all of our play seems to be going to a missing spot in the pitch that the center forward seems to be occupied by, and rolling into the season and not getting as much as you can. Like there's no time to blood him. We've shipped 6 goals in 2 games. Like, we're gonna break the record of conceding goals at this point while we wait to get our S together. And I think that's insane. Like, sure, we knew that this season was going to be a punt, but at least maintain the illusion that it wasn't going to be one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do find it funny, though, that we are complaining about scoring when we actually have scored 4 goals this season now. Granted, none of them were really through the traditional run of play, right? Like,
the 2 goals that we scored in DC.
The first one was.
Yeah, the 2 goals in DC are gimmies. Like, come on. They're like, come on. Like, that's not repeatable.
Look, the first one was actually well worked. The ball from Quasia was great. The cross in for Wingo was great. Yes, the goalkeeper should have got a palm to it.
1 million
but it got to Oso and it got in. Every other goal has been, a penalty. Okay, it's penalty. Second one is a set piece. Great header by Sigurd Rosted, by the way. I thought was actually one of the better players on the day.
Both goals were bangers. Absolute bangers. No points, only bangers. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, like, a broken play that ends up on the foot of Davy Flores, and Davy Flores hits a rocket into the bottom.
Absolute
corner.
Rocket.
In a way, like, it's weird that we scored 4 goals. We've also conceded 6. And I think, again, that has to be just down to the fact that, again, like I said earlier, the midfield right now feels like it's just getting run through very easily at times. And that, again, is not, again, it's just these spurts of lack of concentration. The first 30 minutes, again, I thought the midfield was great. I thought they were playing well. I thought they were connecting well. I thought they were able to stamp out things for the most part. But then once they shipped the goals, it kind of was like a little bit of 2024, a slight bit of 2023, heads dropped. People lost concentration. You come out of the halftime talk and you're worse. You come
out of the halftime talk almost getting fined because you waited until the last possible minute. Obviously, there was some hairdryer going on in the TFC locker room.
I don't know.
And you're right; they came out even flatter and less interested. That's a major concern. Less discipline.
That's the scary part to me, is less discipline. You could come out flat in games, and that happens, right?
Yeah.
To me, what's more scary is you came out and you lacked discipline after a halftime talk. That is a little, like, you come out and you just, Orlando, like, up until that point, even though Orlando were up 2-0 at that point, and let's call it the first goal a banger, right? A free kick. Sean Johnson's not stopping that, right? Like, it was
Sebastian
just kissed off the post and in. That's a beautiful free
absolutely
kick.
Beautiful.
You put your hands up and you let that one go. The second one, okay, yes, Sremancic, you can point some fingers at him, but that's a mistake I expect a 19-year-old kind of playing out of position
100%.
in the second senior pro game to make. And he was burned by a guy who is like one of the fastest young players in the league right now. And
where was his teammates? Where was his teammates to account for?
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was talking about in my tweet about giveaways when you have the ball in that final third when your wingbacks are really pinned high. Like, if they're trying to pin up high and you give the ball away sloppily, you
better track back.
You're wide open, right?
Don't stand there and feel sorry for yourself because you're going to ship a goal. Like, it's I don't know what's going on with that midfield. I really, really don't. I mean, I guess this feeds into no, not Aaron. Sorry, Aaron. Why didn't he make changes at the half? This one right here, Hollywood HN. my suspicion is that he doesn't trust his bench at all, which is very, very bad. And yeah, I mean, Terts, here's, I haven't read this one, but to be fair, Orlando is one of the top teams in the East. Credit where credit is due. They outclassed us in certain windows of the game. We had no answers. I think that's very, very fair. Expecting this team to hang with the big dogs, you're going to be disappointed all the time. We don't need to go into the why. But I think unilaterally we can say this team is not going to hang with the big dogs. Brady brings up where in the world is Matty Longstaff? It's a good point. Maybe he's not as match fit as we'd like. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with that midfield beyond. And they deserve to be under the microscope. Noel got mad at me last night because I tweeted out when they were doing Tunnel Club, something about, because everybody's hating on Oso and it's driving me crazy. But criticism is warranted. What is going on with that midfield? What is going on with our captain? To where is that leadership coming? Like the midfield is getting run over roughshod, and some of that responsibility has to rest on his shoulders, right? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I think, when you look at and I don't know if you're putting that all on so I get the whole captain
I'm not,
thing,
but
I know people are going to ask that question. I think when you think about the midfield right now, and somebody said it earlier, I think you do miss a creative player in there, a 10 that can hold the ball and make kind of things happen and connect to those strikers, those wingers.
On the attack, sure, but on
yes,
defense,
but the reason I say that is because you're safer in possession sometimes that way, right? And if this is a team that eventually wants to become a little bit more ball dominant, and look, they've talked about getting younger, getting faster, being more athletic, being able to counter quickly on attacks through your wingers. Sometimes you do need a number 10 like that who can spray that ball out and not give the ball away. And some of the time, and the thing that I will say about our midfielders is, like, they got dog in them, right? They're gonna be scrappy. They're going to compete, right? Like, that's true. Quajo is our most progressive midfielder that we have in terms of carries, in terms of passing. But you do get, from time to time, from himself, from Davey, even from Matty Longstaff too, right? Turnovers, like just passes that are errant, that don't go the way that they're supposed to intended to go, or in some cases, like Davey Flores turned around and literally just passed it right to an Orlando player in the second half, and that sprung a counter, right? Because the idea of the way that Robin Fraser had set that lineup up is that those wing backs would attack high, be that extra width, overlap, and then sort of become either that fifth, those two become a fifth midfielder, or at least, be able to provide a little extra support from an attacking perspective. But if you're giving those plays up, or you're turning those balls over, you're already high up the pitch. The next thing you know, if you're not tracking back well, or you're kind of sulking over a turnover or something that doesn't go right, then you get the third goal, which is you just get cut through the middle, and now you've got Kevin Long, who, bless him, if things are in front of Kevin Long, great. If you ask him to turn and run towards his goal, that's when you've got problems, right? And Zayden Monlouise had a pretty decent game in his sort of full really debut. Now, you can also say part of the reason the attacking in the first half went so well and then sort of dropped off was because Richie Larea had to come out due to injury.
Yep.
But, I think there's some promise there with Monlouise. But again, if your idea is that we're really going to be pitting ourselves on a ball-playing center back, to kind of save you in those moments, who was a little bit quicker than Kevin Long, we really don't want to be in those positions in the first place.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what I'm talking about in terms of the midfield and why there's some issue there. I don't know if the solution is to bring Matty Longstaff into the midfield and replace either, I assume it would be Davey, but it could be Alonso Quajo. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think you keep Quajo in because I still think he's your most progressive passer, but
And he needs reps. And even if we get a 10, I think that allows Quajo, and of course this is my completely unbiased opinion, I don't rate Quajo at all. I hate the guy. That frees Quajo to be, I think you're the person that said this to me, that frees him to be more of a 6 and allows him to not have to be the guy. And honestly, Quajo, if you free Quajo and take some of that responsibility off him, I think it's better. I'm I'm not sure a 10's the answer, because I'm not entirely sure what the hell, beyond possession for possession's sake, is happening here. Because the disconnect between like quick fluid passes and being fast and athletic to what we've seen over the last 2 games is a very, very different thing. I mean, we're back past FC again. We're cautious soccer club again, right?
Well, again, that's just because you don't like the attacking. Your attacking unit and the way that you want to attack is one player essentially short, right? Like you don't have a number 9. Like if you looked around MLS this week, and I watched a couple of the other games around the league, the one thing you notice about teams that have an effective number 9, not all of them are DPs, okay?
Sure.
When you have an effective number 9 in that position, in moments where you're kind of like, ugh, I can't get to the wing, oh, my first choice isn't quite there. If you have a strong number 9 that either can hold the ball up well or is good in possession and can play along with players, it just opens up a world of possibilities. It can keep you moving forward even though you don't have your first, maybe even your second option available, right? So, and somebody's mentioning Wilfried Zaha. Obviously, everybody's going to mention Wilfried Zaha because it was his, full Charlotte debut. He looked great, scored a goal. But, I think you don't necessarily need a Wilfried Zaha. You don't necessarily need a DP number 9 or a DP player like that. You need players that are going to be able to have the courage to take the ball to feet, be able to hold off defenders, and keep play moving. And TFC just don't have that right now. They really don't. And you can tell that they're looking for Federico Bernardeschi to do a lot of that, but he can only beat 3 guys so many times.
Especially when he's flying in off the wing, right? You're asking him to be 2 players, right?
And I think somebody's saying here that like Ola could potentially be that player, and I hope you're.
I liked what I saw.
I liked what I saw.
I
agree. I like what I saw as well. But again, it's gonna take time, and we're gonna have to see how he integrates into the team. I do agree. I like some of the things that he was doing when he came in. Some of the runs that he was making. I thought he was aggressive in taking up space in the box, which again makes center backs have to draw to him
and then there's more space on the wings for our for flashy winger guys that are so comfortable on the touchline.
And that's what I'm talking about.
They get hives when they're in the 6-yard box.
And that's what I'm talking about with Theo, right? Is if you have a number 9 that defenders have to respect, then it just opens up more space for an Oso to make like runs. It opens up space for the wingers to be a little bit more dynamic. You can probably keep the ball a lot easier if you have somebody like that. And that's what TFC has been missing. So we'll see, obviously, as the games go along, if Ola can bring that, both from a hold-up perspective, but also from running in behind. He made some really great sort of runs that weren't quite caught by the midfielders at the time, but they were runs that either opened up space for wingers or runs where if the ball is played, if somebody can play that ball in, then you have something on in the box, right? And then from there, you never know what can happen, right? So
absolutely.
I don't want to be all gloom, because I think a lot of people are right now, because just the result of Saturday, and I get why.
And people
some of those goals were ugly.
Exhausted.
Some of those goals were ugly. Like, it was hard. Yeah. It was hard to watch, because it was a lot of the end of last season / a little bit of 2023. But I think there are some signs that if they can figure this out under Robin Fraser, and if they can sort of get their shit together, right? There could be something there. I don't know if that means playoffs. I don't know if that means, like you said, I don't think they're challenging like an Orlando. I don't think they're challenging the top of the East.
Absolutely.
But I mean, you can go out there and you can beat a DC United. You can beat, right now in LA Galaxy, they look terrible. But you can compete with those teams, and then you see what happens at the end of the year. But as of right now,
and here's my thought. I honestly think that the midfield right now is missing a man. I think because we're so light at center back, because we're waiting for Nixon to get back and waiting for Monlouis to get match fit, we're stuck playing a 3-man back line when one of those guys should be more cover in the midfield. I honestly think that that's maybe what Rofrays wants, because, the best defending is keeping it away from your defenders. So maybe it is about just staying the course until we get our midfield platoon up to snuff and up to speed, and then allowing, the midfield's carrying a lot of water for this team right now. And naturally they're being found lacking. Exactly what Jackie said.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to move to a three-man midfield. I don't know if this is actually going to be the long-term formation for TFC either. Right?
I mean, that's what I'm saying in so many words. I don't either. But, that game was screaming for Ula. Absolutely screaming from moment one. And if that's the tactics that we're running with, let's not do that again. Let's not
no more false nines.
No more false nines. No more any of that. So that's the midfield. Are we going to Simmerman? Are we going to include him in the midfield, or are we going to include him in defense?
Yeah, I'll include him a defender because that's pretty much what he was doing most of the night. Just because he was getting
Simmerman down.
Simmerman. I think that for a 19-year-old, that second game, he looked like a 19-year-old playing his second senior professional
Absolutely.
game. He had moments where he looked okay going forward. He had moments where defensively he made the right moves, especially in the first 30 minutes. And then he gets burned by another rookie. And look, this is one, and just to Freeman is one of Orlando City's top young prospects.
He's their Jaden Nelson. He's their guy that they haven't traded away for peanuts and a bus ticket. Yeah.
So to Brady, I think if you have a more legitimate left wing back option, he's not starting games right now. You just don't have another option. I don't know if they really want to put Raul Petretta in that space once he's fully fit. I know that's what I'm saying. But once he is fit, are you going to put him in that wingback role? It seems like they want to maybe play him more as a third center back. And then that's just a question of depth, right? You just don't have somebody who can play that role at left wing back at the moment. So you put him in, and you're hoping that he can develop. And I think he can. I think you could see tools there. You definitely can see tools. But it's just, he's a 19-year-old who just signed a senior pro contract a week and a half ago.
Absolutely. And I don't think his mistakes were so egregious as to, take him out behind the barn and end him. It's like you said, 19 years old, he's going to make mistakes. If anything, it's on the players around him, the other 10 players on the pitch, to accommodate for his naivete. You leave him on an island like that, it's no good for the team and it's no good for him, right?
Yeah. Jackie makes a big point. Maybe you think about starting Tyrese Spicer at left wing back, and you take the fact that Tyrese is not one of the best defenders. He's Simmerman, I would argue, is probably a better defender.
I would agree with you without question.
But you also teams do have to respect the fact that Tyrese Spicer can fly down that wing, and if you're not paying attention to him, or if you're not giving him enough time in terms of attention, then you could get burned. I think that's interesting.
Considering that both of our games have been track meets where we've lost. Putting anybody on the starting 11 that's a defensive liability is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Defense first above everything else. Until we actually make 3 points, let's not start Spicer in it as a center back and hope that he scores.
Well, no, you know what I mean? He'd be a wing back. And
no, but you know what I'm saying?
He's a back, but really he's a winger that's attacking. That essentially has to have some defensive responsibilities, right?
Of course.
That's really what you would be asking from him at that point. And look, he's already started at a wing back in the league already from last year. So he has a little bit more experience in that space than Simmerman, but not that much.
I'd be worried considering his injury history, giving him double the amount of field to cover on his runs, both in attack and defense, and then maybe betting bad and putting him down for the season again. Do you know what I mean? So I can see some. Listen, I don't think there's any argument to be cautious with this squad right now. I think you go scorched earth because your fans are going to abandon you at this point. I don't agree with what I'm saying, but I can see the rationale for being cautious. I just don't think we're in a position to be cautious. Who else?
We talked about Kevin Long a little bit, and we talked a little bit also about Sigurd Rosted. I thought he had, I know some people don't agree. I thought he had a pretty decent game.
So do I.
Scores the goal. I think from an attacking perspective, like he was playing pretty high up at times.
It was crazy. He was doing his best Shane O'Neill last season impression.
Yeah,
and like why is he a winger? Why is he an attacking midfielder? Who said it best? It was a quote. I was having an exchange with somebody on the old Twitter machine, and I believe I'm gonna go. It was he's a roller coaster. Roasted, right? Like, you know, because there's obviously talent there. It's just, you know, some days you're like, where is it? And then other days you're like, why can't he be like this every game? Like he's so maddeningly inconsistent.
I actually think he'll be a player that does much better under Robin Fraser. I just got a feeling that like the way
all signs point to yes.
That he'll do better under Robin Fraser, just in terms of, again, it seems like what Robin Fraser's trying to do with a lot of players is just simplify jobs and simplify tasks.
I don't think they're a very complementary pairing, Rosted and Long. I think that's the main issue there, is that they're I won't call them like oil and vinegar, but they're pretty damn close. And yeah, you know, Long, it's like everyone told us that his speed was an issue, so I can't sit here and say it over and over again. Of course, his speed is an issue. You accommodate for that with, you know, a Monlouis or a Gomes as his center back partner. They can't play together. I think they're doing it right now, and you saw what happens when they are. And that's an easy thing to fix. We just need one of our center backs to get healthy enough to start, and it's certainly looking like Monlouis is going to be the guy. Now, you say, you know, excuse Zimmerman for being 19 and looking like a I
didn't say it was excuse me, saying that it's the reality of what he is.
I didn't like seeing that from Monlouis, considering his pedigree, right?
In terms of what?
This is the same kind of, you know, brain farts, right? He looked like he didn't know what he was doing out there, and that can't be down to turf and travel. I mean, this guy's an Arsenal Academy project. Like, listen, otherwise why don't we play our academy guys, right? Like, he's got to have a higher standard than, you know, Joe Schmo if we're
JP,
paying top dollar.
I don't know. That was his first senior, like yes, he's in the Arsenal U21 academy. I get that. Mm-hmm. He was captain.
But all the Eurosnobs would say that Arsenal's U21 team will win MLS Cup and set a new points record.
Yeah, but
right?
that's
like,
why they're
which
Eurosnobs,
one is it?
Right? Like, that's why they're Eurosnobs. Right?
Okay.
Like, at the end of the day, that was his senior men's football, like, debut. You know, like, you know, other than one
going to
minute
help in my take. No, that's fine. I expected more. And now getting to the winner of the I expected more trophy is our boy Henry Wingo. I do not understand this signing.
Well, yeah, that's where I think we can agree. And Brady just asked, like, what about not unsold on him?
Yeah,
I'm not sure I'm fully on that train yet, but there are flags. And again,
massive flag.
But again, I would also say that he's not naturally a wing back, and he had to step into that role when Richie went out, and they brought Monlouis in to play as the third center back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, the question just becomes, you know, I think of what we're also bringing in is, like, he was brought in with the idea that he would be a starting level,
a jack of all trades.
Yeah, a starting
level.
He would be
a Nick DeLeon. He would be a Nicholas.
He would be a starting center back that had pace and could complement, ideally, Kevin Long. You know, in a 2 or in a 3, and be able to provide a little bit more, you know, ability to carry the ball and things like that. What we're seeing right now is, well, I don't really know what we're like. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing
I agree with you.
That turns the ball over quite a bit. You know, tries to carry the ball and gets themselves in situations where you know, players, you know, close him down very quickly, and he loses the ball, and then he's out of position, and then away you go again.
Taps. Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, I don't get it. I thought he was brought in for that utility, right? Not quite a center back, not quite a wing back. You know, can be played across both sides. I thought that was, you know, that's how it was sold to us, that this guy wasn't a stay-at-home CB, that he has utility, and that we can slot him in, and that when, you know, Richie goes down, he can actively platoon there. When, you know, Kobe Franklin or whoever is playing left back goes down, he can platoon there. I I don't want to platoon him anywhere. So I don't get it. I don't understand the signing. And yeah, I'm massively worried about Henry Wingo's abilities.
Yeah. And it's funny. Yeah, and it's funny because, obviously Nixon Gomes is out injured. And when he comes back, what do you do with him? And then you have Zay Monlouise, right? Like who I think could actually be kind of the under the radar good signing for TFC this year. I think from a ball passing perspective, I thought he did pretty well. He's gonna learn in terms of the speed of MLS. Like, is it the same exact quality as Europe? No. Is it really fast? Yes.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to figure that out. And then you're going to have to figure out your teammates and who's picking up who and who doesn't pick up players and when you're going to have to step and when you're not going to have to step and sort of be safe and stay back. That stuff he's going to learn as he learns his teammates. But I thought for the first, what did he get in? Like, when did Richie go down? Probably within the first 20 minutes. So he plays about 80 minutes, let's call it that. Or sorry, probably a little, maybe 75 minutes. I thought it was okay. He made some mistakes for sure. In the third goal, I think he's a part of the calamity of errors in that third goal. But I think you see somebody who didn't look like he was shook by an MLS sort of major minutes debut, like a guy who stepped up and was confident and made the right, for the most part, moved the ball the right way. Obviously he can be physical, quick, and that's a good thing. I think that serves TFC well. And look, if you're going to be in a season where essentially we're in a rebuild, right? Like that's what this season is. I know a lot of people are thinking like you don't
call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
In MLS sometimes.
Yep.
That he could end up being potentially a core piece that you build around longer term, but obviously we need to see a little bit more. And that's something that I think, again, you can kind of take out of that game and be somewhat encouraged in terms of just a signing and somebody who may look like somebody you can maybe build around for the future. Yep.
Now we need to talk about Sean Johnson. Worst save percentage in MLS right now. Obviously,
look, most of those goals he couldn't do anything about. Like most of these goals that he's had to take on in these first two games, there's very little he can do about a lot of them.
Like, the body language is suspect to me. And there have been a few comments in the chat that I haven't starred. I mean, I've starred a whole bunch. I've got a laundry list of stuff to talk about once we're finished with Sean John. But no, something's up with him. Maybe age is caught up, maybe bad mood, maybe lack of confidence, but I am putting a pin in this because I have a feeling we're going to be talking about this a lot more as the season progresses. This might be a very off year for Sean Johnson, and I'm worried.
Well, I mean, I also would have a terrible body language if you get hung out to dry, 2 to 3 times a game. Like,
sure, but I mean, this is like, we're going to get into the Ozo comment that I started because I absolutely hate it. Like, yes, that's been the case for TFC for 4 years. Are we going to sit around and just feel sorry for ourselves, or are we going to turn that frown upside down, right? And if you have a leadership position in this group, and whether or not Herdman's given it to Sean Johnson like he did, like Fraser's done with what Herdman did, the leaders in this group, the older players, they have to step up and pretend like the sun isn't, like, that the room isn't on fire. Or we're just going to be circling the drain over and over again. Sometimes you have to pretend. You got to fake it until you make it. And if there's already so much. Let's just get to this Oso comment because I think it rolls into it. And where is it? It is couch banter. On another note, I saw a tweet criticizing Oso's leadership style. Honestly, if he was my captain, I'd hate it. It also looks like that leadership style doesn't resonate with a lot of the team. I mean, this team is so broken. Like, do you want him to be out there singing Kumbaya? Like, I'd complain about that. Like, that would seem so wrong. Like, what is he supposed to do when the house is on fire? Like, be calm about it? I think the standard is dropped that he has to call it out. And I think that, probably between Oso and Sean. Like, it's just, there's a whole bunch of negativity, and that I can agree with couch banter on, is that the tune's not changing, right? It's the same players, it's the same tune. We're expecting difference. Of course, it's not going to happen. So maybe they need to go on like a retreat, play paintball or something. Maybe they need to all go see a retreat.
It was called Marbella. They went to
yeah.
You know, you know, like, I get frustration in performance and how this team has performed, not just this season, obviously, but the last, let's call it now, starting going into 5 seasons. Breeds that, right? Like we start looking for every wrong thing in every couch cushion in every corner that we could possibly had. Realistically, like, we would be a worse team without Jonathan Osorio. Let's just be real. The record shows
I love him. I listen, right? But the man is one goal away from a very, very, very elite club, the 50-50 in MLS, right? You can count the amount of players that have done it on one hand, right? I absolutely think he gets the shaft a lot. And I wonder if, you know, he said it, listen, you know, what's going on with Lorenzo is between him and the club. That's wonderful. Talk is cheap. I honestly think that once that black hole is no longer part of our story, everybody is going to be walking around with a spring in their step, whether they've said it publicly or not. And I think that before we can close the book on this, what we consider to be attitude problems and whether people need to change this or that, let's get Nil Magnifico out the door so that we can look at it with the right set of eyes as opposed to the wrong set of eyes. I agree with these comments. Like, there's definitely something rotten in the state of Denmark, right? Nobody looks like they're having fun out there. Like, this team doesn't look like they like each other. This team doesn't look like they respect each other, which I think is even worse. This team looks like they're all pointing fingers at the other person as to what's gone wrong. And I think personal responsibility is sort of taking a backseat here. So,
yeah, I mean, look, again, when you're losing football games, no one's happy and no one's going to.
I mean, yeah, it's insane that I have to say it.
You know, everybody's hugging, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not one to go out and question professionalism unless it's Lorenzo Insigne, right? Like, I'm just, you know, and it's funny because
that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you have this black hole that's laughing in the face of everything that you've worked so hard to do, you know, and being paid handsomely for it. Like, how are you going to be happy in that environment? Like, I mean, that's hell on earth. That's hell on earth.
I think, look, again, we're 2 games into the season, so I know everybody's at panic stations already. I am taking the Matt Doyle train and not hitting the panic button from that perspective. I think a lot of us sickos have been around long enough to know what a real panic looks like. Right now, it's 2 games. They have a point. They're going to go to Cincinnati. That's going to be really hard. I do not expect. I don't expect any points out of that game. But you know, I wouldn't necessarily be hitting the panic button yet. And it's funny you talk about Lorenzo. Mark Volpini here on Instagram is watching live and saying, "Any chance we see Insigne, or is it a stalemate?" Mate, it's a stalemate. Like, this team isn't. I don't even think if let's just say they lose 10 in a row, don't bring them out. Even we get to the home opener and we only have 1 point, which is a real possibility.
Absolutely.
I still don't think this is Lorenzo Insigne. I really don't. I just really think, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I just really think that the club is just saying, like, listen, no,
we're done.
We're done. Yeah, and I just really don't think we're going to see it, even if this team, I mean, if
everybody goes down, Robin Fraser will lace up his boots before he puts Lorenzo Insigne out there. I think they are making a statement, and I think that it doesn't matter if they never win another game this season. You're still not going to see him. They're done with him. I'm so proud of the club for this. If nothing else, this season I'm going to smile about, because they finally grew a pair with this guy. So
I'm gonna revise my statement. I am 99.5% sure they are done with Rosendo. I still think there's a 0.5% chance.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We'll trot him out.
100%.
We got 1 point in 10 games. We're trotting him out, right? Like, I could potentially see that, but realistic, like, if you're not taking him on the first 2 road trips, right? Like it's kind of an indication, right? And
I think he's only
if they don't
training
take
with
him
the
to Cincinnati. Sorry,
I think he's only training. Here we go. There, Ryan brought it up. Then why is he training? He shouldn't. I think if he has to train or he's in violation of his contract, and then they can fire him with cause. So he has to show up. Like they can't.
They'll let him
just
show up. They're right, to keep him fit, and if there's an opportunity for him to go, like they'll still let him train. But I mean, if you look at some of those pictures, man, he looked like a lonely dude. He was like one guy. Everybody had their back turned. No one was looking at him. He was just sort of stand there, like, okay, I guess I got.
You love to see it
now. Like,
you love to see it. There's no one deserves it more. You love to see it. So sit in it and spin, buddy. But I mean, it is only 2 games. We have scored 4 goals. I can definitely see the basis of a plan, to quote the Cheeto from down south, the beginnings of a plan. I can definitely see something going on there. But it's not working yet. And there's a lot of pain points. But I do think at the end of the day, Ula might be the answer, at least for what ails us right now, because every single criticism that we've levied starts with there wasn't a 9 on the field. So now that we've got one, let's see what happens. I think that's the most positive we can be, is once we've got a this would have been me if I had let my cats down, because one of them is obsessed with being on my keyboard. They would have screwed everything up. Like
my camera's falling. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, like I think at the end of the and then maybe maybe this is a good time to probably wrap things up. But at the end of the day, I think they go to Cincinnati this weekend. They play a team that they signed a real DP number 9, and he is Kevin Denke, and he is like lighting it up. I got to watch a little bit of him. He is I'm looking at that back 3. I'm like, oh, you guys are in for a day if you got to play him on Saturday, because he is big, he's strong, he's fast, he'll hold the ball up, he'll run in behind. They've got guys who can feed him the ball. I mean, if they bring that kind of energy, that defensive energy that they brought especially in that second half against Orlando, oh man, it could get rough. It could get rough.
I think it's going to be rough. I think it's going to be.
And they have no Lucho Acosta, but Evander. They basically traded an older Lucho Acosta who's still really good and scored a great goal for.
I saw Evander live when I was in Portland. He's amazing. He's unbelievable.
Exactly, and
now that he's not angry at his club, which I think was half of last season, fun. He's gonna unbelievable.
It's going to be. It might be another rough one on Saturday.
I agree.
Before the home opener, and then I'm interested to see how a lot of you who are watching this live you're going to be at the home opener on the 15th. I'm interested to see what that reaction is, because they could legitimately come home with only 1 point, and. I think it'll still be positive in the sense that, look, people will go and support the team and obviously try to get a win against a Chicago team that is rapidly also getting really good.
They're on the ascent.
They are on the ascent.
Greg Ball, yep.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Bamba and Hugo Kuipers looking
what
quite
a
good.
Signing, Bamba. Remember what he was doing with Jay David at Lille? Remember that combination? Oh my God, why can't we get Jonathan Bamba? Like, what? Like, come on, man.
Hey, man, you got to, Yeah. Anyway, but that's what's facing TFC over the next 2 weeks. We'll of course be here to cover all of that and get your reactions.
I love that you're doing this while you're holding your camera up. I can see the stress on you. You're dying.
Yeah, I know right now. Yeah, the arms not loving it right now. So I think we'll call it a day.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, look, Ed, thank you again for listening to another Toronto Till I Die. If you're watching this live right now, on whatever platform you're watching it on, like, subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube. We really appreciate it. We're getting to that 500.
Yeah, subscribe. We're so close, guys.
We're
500
so close. Would be amazing.
Gives us bargaining power with the YouTube overlords. Yeah,
that would be awesome. Obviously, if you have friends that are looking for more TFC content, we're definitely here. Also, shout out to, and we said it last week, absolutely. But shout out to people like Touchline TFC, obviously Waking the Red, John Molinaro, guys who are putting out more content for TFC this season, which I think is important. Even if this team is struggling and bad, I think people need to know why, and we need to have conversations about why to hold the club accountable
absolutely
to these things. And then, of course, if you're listening to this the next day on podcast, 5 stars, reviews, we really appreciate those. Great for Jeffrey Pinesker's soul as he reads your reviews and comments.
Your hilarious attempts to misspell my name are my favorite. I love it, but it is what it is. And thanks again. I saw TFC on the road in here. I know you sung the praises of your road trip, which looked absolutely fantastic. I know I'm itching to go to one, and I don't care how bad this team is. I'm going for the vibes. So definitely,
hey, maybe
we'll do one.
March 22nd. They got a road trip to New Jersey. You and I maybe do that.
Maybe. I'm on a show until the 25th, so it depends on how crazy it is at the end of the show. But we shall see.
Okay. All right.
I want to stay on forever because I know how uncomfortable you are, and this is making me so happy. But I'm not going to do that to you. Buddy.
I'm okay. All right.
Let's just, exactly.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm trying to end this like 5 minutes ago. Well, again, thank you for listening to Toronto Till I Die. We will see you next week. Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Cheers. I hit the button.
And wait, and baby, I'm TFC till I die.